Hey everybody, in today's video I wanted to talk about tricks that kind of get neglected in the balisong world. Tricks that no one does, for one reason or another. And I'm going to offer up why I think that might be the case. Of course, you guys can discuss in the comments, but we'll get right into it. Now the first trick that I wanted to talk about I think is rather obvious why no one does it anymore. And that trick would be the latch drop. Looks like that. It's an opening and a closing. No one really does latch drops because balisongs nowadays don't have latches on them. Sometimes they do. It's very rare. But I think that is the biggest killer for the latch drop. Another reason is that even if you have a latch on a balisong, there's really no need to ever do one, because it allows you to open the balisong in an ice pick grip, which ice pick grips are not actually that useful for everyday EDC. I would know. I EDC one of my balisongs. But sometimes I do use it as a closer if I'll be cutting a box or something, and then I just like that to close it. I think another big part of why people don't like to use it is, to me, especially the closing, it doesn't feel that satisfying of a trick. Some tricks feel really good to pull off and some just don't. And this one, I always feel like the momentum is just really weird with the closing, and it's just not that fun to do. But this next trick, I think no one does for a different reason. Next trick I want to talk about is the figure 8, which looks like that. It also has a closing, if I can remember how to do it. I think it's like that. So I think that nobody does this trick because it doesn't look that impressive. And it's slower than just doing a double rollout. It's much slower than just doing a quick draw. So it doesn't look that impressive. It's kind of just a gimmick more than anything, which I think is why no one really does it. It's kind of just a variation on the opening, and generally people don't actually do just openings, unless someone's like, hey, can I see that? And you're like, yeah. But other than that, there's a lot of other openings that are better and faster to do. The next trick that I wanted to talk about is actually it was the inspiration for this video. The trick that really got me thinking about the tricks that no one does. And that was the knuckle duster. Because I remember learning the knuckle duster. I remember I used to do it a lot more. But now I never do it. And I'm not exactly sure why, because it's not hard, particularly. I think it looks okay. There's definitely cooler looking aerials. And I do think that has something to do with why people don't tend to do it. So the average flipper generally doesn't seem to do a lot of aerials nowadays. If they do, it's like scissors or pinky catches, stuff like that. But not a lot of people are just having these big aerials in their combos. Of course, some people do, and those people tend to do the knuckle duster, but the average flipper just doesn't ever do it that much. And I think a big part of this is because it just doesn't look that impressive. Most of the aerials that we do, the balisong is rotating in some way, so in order to catch it at the right time, you have to make sure that you have the timing down. And if you don't have the timing down, you're not going to catch it properly. Like that. So the knuckle duster doesn't really have this, because it doesn't actually rotate while it's in the air. It just kind of sits in this static position like this. So all you have to do is, whenever you want, you just reach out and grab the handle. Which, it does look cool in a way, but it's not as difficult, and that makes it's not as impressive as a lot of other aerials. In my opinion. And honestly, I don't know why else it is not used. That's the best reason I could think of. Sorry, I keep checking to make sure my camera's on because it shut off mid-recording moments ago. So yeah, that is, I think, that's the knuckle duster, and my best guess as to why no one does it. Now, next I wanted to talk about a trick called the half mernax, which looks like this. And then you can end it with an aerial like that. It's really just this swing part where you pinch it, swings around, and you're going to end up catching it like this. I feel like this one, it's just kind of like a little awkward. It's not too awkward to do, but it doesn't really fit with the flow of most people's combos. Whether you like to do tech or rollover based stuff, the half mernax doesn't really fit in there, and I feel like in general most ladders, people often struggle to incorporate ladders into their combos because they're just a completely different type of flow than what most people are after. And I think that's really what kills the half mernax. There's also just nothing particularly impressive about it. You know, it doesn't look super flashy. It's not super easy, but it's not difficult. So it's kind of just this like awkward trick that you can learn, but it's more of a side quest than a main storyline trick that you would need to know. So I think that is a big killer for it. And then lastly, the last trick that I wanted to talk about, I actually don't know the name of this trick. If you know, I would love to hear it in the comments, because I genuinely just forget. But it's a trick that I actually do quite often, but I don't see other people doing. And it's kind of like a substitute trick for learning the shortstop, because shortstops are difficult. And this trick that I learned is not as difficult. So here's what it looks like. Oh, not like that. It's definitely momentum based, and if you don't have the momentum, it's really hard to do. But you just have one of the handles down, and then you rotate it around your index finger and catch it. And it's got a similar vibe to the end of the shortstop, like that. But, you know, both of which, it's a very momentum-based trick, and if you're starting it from a static position, it's a lot harder to do, because you've really got to crank it and generate momentum. And to be honest, I don't actually know why no one does this trick. I think the biggest reason is just that the shortstop exists, and most people just do shortstops. Because shortstops are actually pretty common to see in combos. So I feel like it's like, well, most people probably look at this as just a little shortstop substitute. It's not really a replacement to the shortstop, so there's no reason to do it when you could just do a shortstop. But honestly, that's my best guess as to why no one does it. I would love to see more people do it, because it's pretty simple, and I think it looks cool. But that was pretty much all that I had to talk about in today's video. Hope that you've all had a wonderful day, and until next time, keep flipping.